Here in Islamabad, waiting is the hardest part, where hours may be days away from another round of talks between the US and Iran that could reshape the world. And yet, here in the capital of Pakistan, it feels like everything is suspended in midair. VIPs are shuffling in and out of the red zone, analysts are running out of things to say, and while we wait, it's making me wonder, what did the previous deal between the US and Iran look like? Nearly a decade ago, the world watched as the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, the JCPOA, came together after 2 years of grinding negotiations.
Today, I want to speak to you about this deal and the most consequential foreign policy debate that our country has had since the invasion of Iraq.
It wasn't perfect, but it worked, at least for some time, until, of course, Donald Trump pulled out of it in 2018. And here we are today, waiting for yet another deal.
If the regime continues its nuclear aspirations, it will have bigger problems than it has ever had before.
Now, back then, Barack Obama's administration was clear on what it wanted: cap Iran's nuclear program, extend the breakout time, and build a system so intrusive that any attempt toward a weapon would be seen and stopped. Iran, in turn, would get sanctions relief, access to frozen assets, and a narrow path back into the global economy. It was signed on July 14, 2015, and was agreed to by Iran and the 5 permanent members of the UNSC: China, France, United Kingdom, Russia, and the United States. Essentially, all sides accepted something that they don't often admit in public, that compromise was probably the only way forward. According to reports, under the 159-page deal, Iran dismantled large portions of its nuclear infrastructure, shipped out 25,000 pounds of enriched uranium to Russia, and opened its facilities to inspections and verifications by the International Atomic Energy Agency. In return, billions in sanctions relief followed. The most important factor holding this deal together was mutual trust. The US and many European nations lifted oil and financial sanctions and released about $100 billion in frozen Iranian assets. Experts suggested that the deal had the potential to prevent Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon for more than a decade. But of course, critics pointed out that the deal left out regional tensions and didn't fully eliminate the risk of a nuclear bomb. And guess who was against this deal? Israel, who itself isn't even a signatory of the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. And then Trump became president, and on May 18, 2018, he dropped out of the deal, saying that Iran made the deal in bad faith and that the deal gave Iran too much in exchange for too little. His allies stopped him, but he didn't listen. And then when in January 2020, the leader of Iran's elite Quds force, Qasem Soleimani, was killed in a US airstrike, Iran announced that it would no longer abide by any restrictions on its nuclear program. Then after Israel's strike on Iran last year, matters only got worse. The assassination of the supreme leader right at the peak of negotiations in Oman didn't help either. Which brings us back to Islamabad today, where we are all on standby to wait for yet another deal. So what's really stopping this deal from a breakthrough? According to this Time article, an official who participated in previous negotiations said that earlier talks were a methodical, deliberative interagency process that operated at all levels of government, and that expert input is critical to achieving goals such as no enrichment of uranium. Then there's also the issue of lack of clear strategic goals. According to reports, last weekend in Islamabad, the US asked Iran to accept a 20-year moratorium on uranium enrichment and remove highly enriched uranium from the country, but without any specific guidelines as to how, and an unwillingness to accommodate Iran's counter-suggestions. Another former negotiator, Aaron David Miller, suggests that a successful deal would require finding some balance of interest between both parties, and that eventually, for all of this to work, they would have to come up with an agreement that allows both the US and Iran to project victory. So now we sit back and wait to see if this time around, with the ceasefire expiring in just a few more hours, a greater urgency to end this war will prevail. This is Aisha Mir from Islamabad for Pakistan TV Digital.